Hello, my name is Emily Price. I'm with the Price Group at Keller Williams, and I want to welcome you to our webinar this evening. We're really excited to share some helpful information with you this evening that would probably pertain to you if you're thinking about possibly selling a property in 2023. As we find ourselves here at the top of the year, you might be in a position where you don't know for certain that you want to sell, and yet you might be thinking about it. And so here's the thing. We believe here at the Price Group that knowledge is power. So it's nearly impossible to make a decision that you know is the best one, the right one for you and your family, one that you feel confident about, without first gathering all the information and all the answers to your questions. So again, my name's Emily Price at the Price Group. I've got a pretty good idea of what is likely going through your brain if you're considering a possible sale this year. And so thank you for tuning in with us this evening and joining us, because I'm going to cover so many of the questions that I know you likely have. So what do you need to know if you're thinking about possibly selling in 2023? Let's check it out. So our conversation this evening is going to focus on a couple of things. First, we're going to talk about what is really going on in this housing market, right? Does it feel a little different? Maybe a little odd in comparison to the housing market we have found ourselves in for the past 2 years? It probably does. So I'm going to give you some clarity around that and help you make sense of what our housing market is doing. All right. And then what about these interest rates? Those are different too, right? We have a lot of different things going on, and different doesn't mean bad at all. It just means that you get to play the game a little bit differently. We're also going to chat about how do you put the selling and the buying puzzle pieces together. You know, I am a real estate professional, and with that term, it means that I am primarily a real estate consultant. I spend so much of my time helping our Price Group clients as a consultant in figuring out what are your goals, your needs, your concerns, your priorities, your timeline, and looking at all of those puzzle pieces and then putting together a strategy that's going to serve you. Because see, here at the Price Group, we do not just do a one size fits all type of protocol for selling and buying. We know that real estate and the goals around that for you, especially how you use that to build wealth and to invest for you and your family. And yes, you build wealth and you do invest in real estate when you own one home that is your single family residence that you live in. Real estate investing doesn't mean you have to own 10 rental properties. All right. Real estate is a great way for all of us to invest our money and benefit from having a roof over our heads at the same time. Right. So to put all of that together, it takes a consultant to look at all the pieces and to find a strategy that's going to serve you. And we here at the Price Group, we specialize in that. So I know that we've come from a market that has been really hard or challenging to do certain things, like potentially make an offer on a new property that's contingent upon the sale of the one that you own. Well, great news. Our market is changing, which means the way that we can play the game is changing too. So I'm going to chat with you a little bit more about that. Bottom line is there are more options for you to get what you want and how you want it in the market that we're in. Also, I know that for everyone who's thinking about a sale of any property, there's usually 3 main driving factors of things that you want. And one of them is typically you want to make the most amount of money that the market will yield. You want to maximize that equity. You want to get every dollar out of that property and leave no money on the table. Secondly, oftentimes you want to do it in the shortest amount of time possible. And lastly, you want to do it with as much convenience and simplicity to you. Real estate is not necessarily an easy process, and yet you want to do it with as few bumps in the road as possible. So here at the Price Group, we specialize on delivering all 3 of those desires to you. Selling your property for the highest dollar amount the market will yield in the shortest amount of time with the most convenience to you. So we're going to talk about that, and we're going to focus on how you get the most money out of your property in today's market. And then that leads us to another big question that a lot of people have right now, especially sensing the fact that the market is shifting a little bit. It's a little bit different. Again, what's going on? And that drives to the question of how much is my home even worth? How much is it even worth today? So we'll talk about how we can get you those answers too. All right, so let's dive right in. So, what is going on in this housing market of ours today, right? What is going on? It's been a zesty, wild, adventurous ride for the past 24 or so months. And yet we know now that it is different. And yet there's a lot of different messages coming at us, right? The media has things to say about it. Your neighbor has something to say about it. Rest assured, my name is Emily Price with the Price Group, for those of you just joining in, and I want to work very hard to earn the opportunity to be your ultimate real estate resource, myself and all of my fantastic business partners here at the Price Group. And so what I want to empower you with is knowing that getting your information regarding what is actually going on in this housing market, you've got a trusted real estate resource that is going to give you clarity and help you understand. So again, you can make the best and right decision for you and your family at the moment that you find yourself in. So let's talk about what is going on. We need to first kind of go really high level, like the 30,000 foot level, and touch on what our national housing market does as a housing cycle. Okay. So I want you to think about the letter S that's sitting on its side. So it would look something like this. Okay. The letter S sitting on its side. That is one, if you were to graph a full cycle, a full housing market cycle, it would look like the letter S laying sideways. So here's what I mean by that. The housing cycle in our country tends to be, for example, we'll just pick a starting point as a seller's market, okay? A seller's market, and then it'll move to a balanced market, which spoiler alert, a balanced market lasts for about 5 minutes. They don't last long. And then it starts to trend to a buyer's market. Then it'll come back up to that balanced market, and then it will come back up to that seller's market. So it makes the full S to cycle through all of that. So again, seller's market to balanced market to buyer's market, back to balanced market, back to seller's market. So to go from seller's market to seller's market, okay, to go from the last seller's market to the next seller's market, nationally, if you were to look at that data plotted over a graph for the history of our country, for as long as we've been tracking that data, you would find that on average, it takes about 10 to 12 years to go through an entire cycle. And you're like, Emily, why do I need to know this? I'm not a real estate agent. You are. Well, here's why you need to know it. Because again, knowledge is power. And I find a lot of my clients think that the housing cycle is actually annually, as if it trends with the season. That is not correct. Our housing cycle doesn't go all the way through that cycle between winter, spring, summer, and fall. It actually, again, takes 10 to 12 years to go from the very peak of a seller's market to the next very peak of a seller's market. So that's important to know. Keep that in mind as we now continue this conversation into, yes, okay, but what about today, right? So as we continue and we talk about the housing market for today. So it's shifting, it's changing. That does not mean it's bad at all. Actually means it's really, really good. The beautiful thing about the real estate market is that if you're working with a trusted real estate professional, and again, I and my full team here at the Price Group want to earn the right to be your trusted real estate resource, then you will be able to find great opportunities and win in every market. It's just kind of like, you got to know how to play the game smartly. All right. So what about today? So is our market changing and shifting? It totally is. And so here's what's happening across the board. In almost every local market, what we're seeing is seeing longer days on market. So what does that mean? Days on market mean how long does it take a property to sell from the day that we put a sign in the ground and say for sale to the day that we say, woohoo, Offer accepted. Now we're under contract. How long is that time? And what we're seeing right now is that amount of time, those days are getting longer than we've been in the past, 12 to 24 months. They are stretching out. So it is taking a little bit longer for a seller to go from for sale to offer accepted. What we're also seeing is that there are a few fewer amount of what we call A-level buyers out in the market shopping. So the quantity of buyers shopping has shrunk just a little bit, all right, from where, again, we've been for about 12 to 24 months. What's an A-level buyer, you ask? An A-level buyer is the buyer that you would want if you were a seller. It's the buyer that is pre-approved or has their cash liquidated and ready to pre-approve for a mortgage, or has their cash ready and accessible to be a cash buyer. It's a buyer who is motivated, and when they find the right opportunity for them, they're ready to write a strong offer that a seller will be able to negotiate to a win-win that night. Okay, that's an A-level buyer. They're ready to go. They're not just what we call looky-loos. They're ready to go. They know what they want. They're usually already working with their trusted professional. They have a real estate agent representing them. They are house shopping, and when they find the one that meets their needs, they're gonna write the offer. So we have the quantity of those types of buyers has gone down just a little bit in most local markets. And overall, this has been the story for a bit now, yet overall, we still have reduced seller inventory. That means, that's the real estate way of saying, how many houses are for sale? How many homeowners are saying, I want to sell, and they're going on the market? That's what seller inventory means. Now, that number is climbing. We have more than we have recently had in the past, and yet across the board, in terms of historical averages, we are still at what would be called a low amount. All right. So that is the climate of most local housing markets right now. So now let's go a little bit further into how we can really kind of assess that, to take a pulse as to where we are right now as of today. So believe it or not, because messages that you hear around you, if you don't have an expert real estate professional consulting you, might try to tell you something differently. However, the truth is that in most local markets, we are still very much in a seller's market. And why do I say that? Well, let me have just a few moments of your time to teach you how a seller's market is determined. So what we do when we are defining what type of market we're in is we're looking at the amount of inventory. Again, in real estate, inventory means how many properties are for sale, okay? The inventory is the property you can buy. So we're looking at the quantity, or the amount of inventory on the market that's available for sale. And we're also looking at the absorption rate. What does the absorption rate mean? The absorption rate looks at how many buyers, A-level buyers, the buyers who are actually buying. It's looking at the buyers coming into the market and how long, in terms of months, would it take all of the inventory to be sold based upon the current amount of buyers buying. So how many sellers do we have in relation to how many buyers? And we look at that across time. So another way to say it is it's like you take a snapshot of the market and you say, oh, there are X number of doors for sale, and there are Y number of buyers entering the market or in the market. And so what this analysis does is it says, let's just pretend that no additional sellers enter the market and we have this amount of inventory. With this amount of inventory, with how we've been pacing, with the number of buyers that are offering and going under contract, with looking at that current market pacing, how long would it take for all of the sellers to sell? Okay, so that's the mathematical analysis that we do as real estate professionals to put that determination in play over what type of market are we in. What type of market are we in helps us to know, again, what's the rules of the play? What's the rules of the game right now? Because you got to know how the game is played so you can win. And here at the Price Group, we just win. So You're in good hands with us. So there are three markets. One is a buyer's market, okay? A buyer's market is when we do this analysis, how many sellers to how many buyers and how much time is it taking? When we do that whole analysis, the math determines that it would take 7 or more months for all of the current inventory in a local market to sell. That's a buyer's market, okay? A balanced market is when it would take about 5 to 7 months for all of the inventory to sell. So let's pause there for just a second. For many of you, that might be quite surprising. 5 to 7 months is a half of a year. Okay, that is really juxtaposed from the clip of speed that we're coming off of from the 12 to 24 months of the past market that we have all been in. So 5 to 7 months for all the inventory to move is still a balanced market. So what's a seller's market then? Well, a seller's market is the market we have been in and the market we're still in, because a seller's market is when the local market that you're shopping within has the quantity of inventory so that's the supply, and the demand from buyers, the count of buyers that are active, so that's the demand, that works out mathematically to be that it would take less than 5 months for all of the inventory to sell. So the great news, if you're thinking about selling a property this year, is that you have not completely missed the boat at all. It is still a seller's market. And while it might feel like it is slowing, because it is still a seller's market that you can still take advantage of if you want to have the experience of selling in a seller's market. Okay, so that's the definition of the three markets. We know by math that most of our local markets are still in a seller's market. So where does that lead our conversation next? So knowing where we are still in a seller's market. This helps us to then segue into the next part of the conversation, which talks about interest rates. Okay. But what about those interest rates, Emily? Those interest rates, they're higher than they've been. Where's that 2.75, that 4.25 interest rate that I got when I purchased my last house? All those types of questions. Interest rates are an important conversation for sellers. Obviously, they're important for buyers because it's going to impact your monthly payment, right? But interest rates are an important conversation for sellers because here's why. Supply and demand, right? Your property that you are selling is the supply. All the buyers that are a match for your property, that's the demand, all right? The price point for your house drives up as the demand drives up. So if there are more people competing for your house, it pushes the value of the house up. Basic economic principle of supply and demand. So here's why interest rates are important to consider in all of this. A buyer who is not a cash buyer. So for the sake of this conversation, we're talking about buyers who get a mortgage, who get financing. The lingo of real estate talks about, well, how much are you pre-approved for? And then fill in the blank, it's a purchase price. $300,000, $525,000, $85,000, whatever, how much am I pre-approved for? That defines the dollar amount by which sets the ceiling of the price point you want to shop for as a buyer. So that is how our brains are programmed to think about pre-approvals and mortgages and buyer's price points. However, what we really need to understand is when a buyer goes to get pre-approved. So the reason that this topic is important is because are they going to be a match for the price point that you want, or are they not? Okay. So that's why this topic is important for you as a seller. When the buyer goes to get pre-approved, even though the language rolls out in terms of being approved for a total purchase price, what is really happening to arrive at that purchase price is that mortgage loan officer is doing the math to see what the buyer is pre-approved for in terms of a monthly payment. Okay. So they're actually looking at what can the buyer afford as a monthly payment. And then if this is the monthly payment, this is the purchase price. Okay. So we're actually approving when we're a buyer and we're getting pre-approved, we're truly getting pre-approved on a monthly payment. So what is a monthly payment? A monthly payment is primarily principal, which is the amount you're borrowing to buy the house, and interest, which is the interest rate. Also, depending upon how you set up your mortgage product or mortgage payment, sometimes it can also be escrowed taxes, escrowed insurance, HOA fees, and things of that nature. That's a conversation for a buyer consult. So if I'm piquing your interest and curiosity, like, what is all this? I need to learn about all this. Reach out. We'll have a separate conversation about equipping you with all the knowledge to be a really strong buyer. But with your seller hat on, when we talk about getting them pre-approved for a monthly payment, primarily we're talking about principal and interest. So as that interest rate goes up and they have to pay more money in interest, the balance of their monthly payment is principal. And so the amount they can pay in principal starts to go down a little bit. Okay. So the higher the interest rate, the lower the buyer's total purchase price can be in terms of what they can afford. So as the interest rate rises, sometimes it slows the buyer traffic down just a little bit because their affordability changes. Okay. That's why it's important to consider as a seller. Now, here's the thing. I just kind of gave you interest rate lesson 101. But in our current market, there's nothing but great news. Because again, be careful of how you perceive information and the labels you attach to it. Because again, all the messages out there, the media and all the people that are giving you messages that are actually outside of the mortgage and real estate industry want you to think that this is the wild, wild west and it's super crazy. And it's not. So here on the graph that I have up here for you, it shows our, I believe, 50-year history, 72 to 21, shows a 50-year history of annual mortgage rates in our country here in the United States. And we've graphed them out for you so you can kind of see how they trend over the 50-year history. Here's what I want you to really key in on. Do you see that dotted golden yellow line that's going through the middle of the graph? That is the historical average annual mortgage rate of the last 50 years in the US. And that number is 7.81%. So here's the thing. Most all of my clients and my team's clients right now, there might be an exception to the rule. I'm just not recalling it off the top of my head right now. Everyone is still locking rates under 7.81, which means winner, winner, chicken dinner. You are a super smart, savvy buyer in today's market because you are securing a rate that is still less south of the historical 50-year average for our country. So I would call that a win. I would especially call that a win because if you opt for a fixed rate mortgage product, meaning the rate's never going to change, no matter what happens in our housing market, our economy going forward, your lower than historical average interest rate stays the same. You want to talk about having power as a real estate investor. That's some powerful stuff there. So the good news for all buyers, and sometimes if you're a seller, you'll often turn into a buyer next, right? So the good news for everyone is that our interest rates are still under the historical average. So that is great. So have we seen a bit of a rise in the past 12 months or so? Definitely. Have we seen that rise slow down that A-level buyer traffic? Yes. And that is what is making our market slow a little bit from the turbo pace we've been at. All right. So that is what is happening. However, even though those interest rates are coming up a bit, we're still under the average. All of this is really, really good news that everybody should be really excited about. At the top here of the slide that I'm sharing with you, we've got this fancy little term that a lot of us this fancy little phrase that a lot of real estate agents have been using lately to help everyone understand. Marry the price and date the rate. So don't let a rate that you're less than enchanted with slow you down from participating in this market right now. because in this market, you can secure your price. You can lock that rate. The price you bought it for, you bought in today's market. And in a little bit, we're going to talk about how that is a win because of how our property values trend in our country. So when you marry the price, you're securing that price. You can date the rate, meaning you can be with whatever rate that you chose for as long as you want. And in the future, if you want to stay with it, great. And if you want to refinance, you always have the opportunity to refinance. So want to make sure you're thinking really big so you don't miss out on opportunities in this market, especially if you're thinking, I want to sell my property because I would love to participate in this still existing seller's market, but I'm nervous about my interest rate for my new house. Don't be nervous. You're still winning. It's under the historical average. All right. So we've answered the questions, hopefully, or at least some of them, about interest rate concerns. So then that does move us forward into the whole kind of swirl of questions around, but Emily, how do I put this all together? I spend a lot of time with families at their kitchen tables figuring out a plan of attack of how to make it all happen. So I champion the commitment that I make to myself and to all my clients, which is Emily makes it happen. So does my entire team here at the Price Group. You might be seeing a dilemma or a swirl of moving parts that you can't quite figure out how to nail down. And my pledge to you is that we are amazing here at the Price Group in finding your solution. So all we got to do to be able to have the opportunity to craft a solution that serves you is to understand what all those swirling questions or all those different concerns are that you're trying to figure out. So we welcome the opportunity to have conversation with you for us to understand, what do you want to make happen? What's the dream situation? If you could wave a magic wand, what would happen? What's important to you with timeline? What are you really nervous about? What are you concerned about? Is there something that's got you worried? Is there something that you want to avoid? We look at all of that. And then with our knowledge of the current market that we're in, we will put together a strategy that will serve you. So then you have a plan of attack. And again, at the very beginning of this conversation, I mentioned that we at the Price Group believe strongly in the concept that knowledge is power. So serving as your ultimate real estate resource, as your real estate consultant, our first opportunity to help you, which by the way is completely complimentary, is a complimentary consultation, a casual conversation for us to listen to all of your goals, needs, wants, worries, timelines, for us to then put a plan in place, a strategy that will serve you. So then you have all of the information. Then you can decide what you want to do. And if you want to move forward with that plan, we're here to help. And if you don't, well, now you feel confident about staying put because at least you gathered the information first. All right. So we welcome the opportunity. If you're feeling confused about how do I go from A to B, that is where we step in. That is where we at the Price Group excel. All right. So give us the opportunity to serve you in that way to help you figure out your plan. So I speak with a lot of people that are like, Emily, I don't want to sell my house before I know where I'm going to go. And I don't want to go just anywhere. I don't want to settle on this next house, and or I have to stay in the school district, and or yes, I want to move up and get a little more space, but I have to stay within this monthly payment. I don't know how I make the numbers work to make all that happen. That's what I'm saying. Share all of those scenarios with me or any member of my team, and we're going to be able to help you figure out a path forward. So you don't want to be homeless. I get it. Neither do I. We'll make a plan that makes sure we keep a roof over your head from A to B. All right. You don't want to carry 2 mortgages at the same time. Well, good news for you. We're coming from a market where that was a little challenging. in different ways for a lot of people to avoid if they were selling and buying. And the good news is now we're going into a market where we are going to have more access to negotiate on your behalf for timelines of contingencies and selling and buying that help you have just one mortgage at a time. And you don't want to settle on the next house you're going to buy. Let's face it, moving is a big deal, right? It's not like we're like, let's go buy an ice cream cone tonight. No. It's not a ice cream is great. It's not a transaction like that. Moving is a big deal. It's a big deal, which is why you need someone you trust, like the Price Group, to see you through every step of the way with our experience, our wisdom, our knowledge of the market, our ability to negotiate, keeping your timelines, your needs, and your concerns at the heart of it all so that we steer you directly through to exactly where you want to be. We're not going to have you settling. If you don't want to be homeless, we'll make sure you're not homeless. If you don't want to carry two mortgages at the same time, we'll put a plan together that keeps you safe from that. All you have to do is reach out to us to let us know the thoughts that are kind of swirling around so we can sort them out and make that plan for you. And the best way for us to kick off that conversation is one thing that you could do is you could reach out to us right now at wemaketheplanforyou.com. Reach out to us there, and myself or one of my business partners will be back in touch with you in 24 hours or less. And remember, it's just a casual conversation. You're just information gathering, and we know that. All right. So hopefully we've given you some peace of mind in knowing there's a lot of moving parts. We're really great at finding solutions, and we can help you sort it out. Emily makes it happen, and so does Price Group. So as we continue our conversation this evening, sometimes the flow of the conversation that happens with my clients is that we arrive to a strategy that's going to work in terms of the timeline, different things to safeguard against, the boundaries and the parameters we're going to put around the process. So we make sure that our client stays exactly where the path that they want to be on the whole way through. And so then the next question that will surface is, Emily, I really need to maximize my equity. This is my largest investment. We have put a ton of sweat equity into this house over the years, all the weekends that we have spent fixing this up. You should have seen it when we bought it. It has come so far. This is our largest investment we have as a family, and we cannot leave any money on the table, Emily. So yes, I'm pretty sure that I want to sell, but I'm kind of nervous about being confident that I'm choosing a path forward to sell that's going to meet my need of making the most amount of money that I can in the market that I'm in. Okay, I hear you. And guess what? My husband and I have sold property with keeping in mind our family in the past also. And that is also our same goal. All right. We all want to maximize our investment in real estate. I understand where you're coming from. It would be my goal if I was selling my property today too. So we are in lockstep with that. I understand your mindset and your concern. So let me share with you how we are going to make certain that you're going to be extremely confident that we left no dollar on the table for you, not even one. And the way that we do that is that you hire the Price Group to help you market and present your property to the public, and then negotiate the deal for you on the terms that you find a win-win, and then see you through to closing. Now, in that whole process, the thing that is most important to talk through for this part of our conversation this evening is the first part. You're going to hire the Price Group to market and present your property to the public, to the open market, in a way that drives the highest demand possible in the market that we're in. So that's a long way of saying something that's super simple. The way you make sure that you leave no money on the table on your closing day is to make absolutely certain that at the very beginning of the process, you hire the best marketing plan. If you do not hire the best marketing plan, which also means the real estate company that's going to deliver that, you will lose money. And here's why. The sole job of a marketing plan, and by the way, at the Price Group, we have a proven 99+ point marketing plan that we put in place full launch for all of our listings, no matter the price point, no matter the market. The purpose of our marketing plan, and in theory, the purpose of any marketing plan, is to drive the demand for your property. Okay. So you're going to market, you're going to advertise, you're going to present the product that you're selling. We're going to present the product that you're selling, which is your property, to all of the buyers and all of the buyers agents in your local market and globally, because your buyer might be an out of town buyer, a relocating buyer, and you're in great hands because Keller Williams is the #1 largest real estate company on planet Earth. So if you need a global force to help you find the best buyer, again, you're in luck. You have found them. So the more demand, the more we present it in a way, make the information accessible, get the information in front of all the eyes. The higher level we do that, the more people, the more buyers, the more A-level buyers become interested in your property at the exact same time. And that's called creating demand. So we go back to the basic law of supply and demand that we spoke about at the beginning of our conversation here this evening. The more demand for your property, demand means buyers, buyer interest, the higher the market value for your property. It's that simple. The more demand for your property, the higher your net profit will be in your sale. So you have to hire a real estate agent, a real estate team that has a proven track record of creating, building, and driving demand, no matter the market, so that we can maximize the highest level of demand possible in the current market conditions that we're in. And as we maximize that, which we do here at the Price Group through the marketing plan you hire us to put in place for you, well, as the demand goes up, the value for your property goes up. If more people want it, that's when they could possibly start competing, and or you get offers that are at list price or holding tight to that list price, which means the higher your net profit. And let's face it, at the end of the day, that's what you're really concerned about when it comes to thinking about your equity and maximizing your dollars. You're thinking about how much money am I going to walk away from the day of closing to be able to put into my savings account, to be able to put into my checking account, to be able to reinvest into my next purchase. How much profit am I going to make? And the way that you make your highest amount of profit is to hire a professional real estate company like the Price Group, whose first responsibility it is to market your property so that the highest amount of demand is created. If you fail to do this, if you hire a weak agent in a weak moment at a weak time, because let's face it, we are not all the same. We are all very, very different. So if you fail to hire the best agent with the most proven successful marketing plan, you will leave money on the table in your sale. So what is your need? Your need is to hire the Price Group if you're considering selling, so that you benefit from our 99-point marketing plan in connection with our formula for a successful sale. And that is the strategy that you're going to need to achieve your highest net profit possible. And I see those wheels turning in your brain. You're like, hold on, what's the formula for a successful sale? We're going to save that for another conversation. That would be a good reason for you to reach out to us this evening. You can connect with us at choosethepricegroup.com. And we're really excited to chat with you one-on-one to share the secrets with you about our formula for a successful sale. We'll get it done for you. Again, Emily and the rest of Price Group, we make it happen. All right. So how do you maximize that equity and make as much money as you can? You hire the real estate professional that has the proven track record of the marketing strategies they use to drive that demand up, to increase the value, and to sell your property for the highest dollar amount that the current market will yield. So as we continue that conversation, we had made mention that our marketing plan is a proven 99 plus point marketing plan that we implement for every single one of our listings. It's a very comprehensive approach to how we present information and connect buyers and buyers agents to information about your property in a way that tells the story so that they are emotionally connected to your property from the very beginning. and creates an incredible first impression. Because we all know with anything in life, you only have one shot at a first impression. And the real estate company to entrust the first impression of your property with is the Price Group. So if you'd like to learn more about our proven 99-point marketing plan, we've included a QR code here for you that you can scan and capture on your phone that will dive into more information for you to answer even more of your questions. Or just reach out to us right now at choosethepricegroup.com. We're happy to have a conversation with you to share more information with you about our plan that we use to get the job done for you. All right. So as we continue, here's what I always advise the public, all consumers of real estate, to be thoughtful about when deciding what real estate agent or what company or what team to hire. You only get to hire one. Again, you don't want to get caught with a weak agent and a weak moment at a weak time. Because again, I'm willing to bet that the property you're needing to sell or curious about selling is either your largest investment or one of the largest. So don't risk that to a weak moment. So how do you do your homework to make sure that you are in a strong moment, making a strong choice and hiring the right agent for you, which would be the Price Group at Keller Williams? How do you make sure? Easy. You ask the real estate agent you're speaking with to prove that what they do works. A lot of people can razzle dazzle you and make everything sparkly and glittery and super fun and exciting as they are presenting their great ideas for you about what they envision doing in terms of the marketing when they take your property to the market. Don't get caught in that. Make certain that you follow that up with, yes, but how do you know that what you do works? Where's the proof? Because if you're anything like me, I like to make decisions based upon fact and data and not just on somebody's whim of a good mood of a thought. All right. So here at the Price Group, we are happy to show you the proof. We know that we have a proven success strategy for all of our sellers. And how do we know? Here's what we do. We just look at the facts. We take the outcomes of all the Price Group sellers and we compare them to the outcomes of all the other sellers in the local market. We compare and contrast. And here's what we find every single time, no matter the market, sellers market, balance market. Here's what we find every single time. Price Group sellers sell their house in a shorter amount of time than the market average around them, with a greater list to sale price ratio, meaning they sell their house for either closer to the list price, at list price, or above the list price, making more money than the rest of the market around them, the average. So the facts and the data show that Price Group sellers sell for more and in a shorter amount of time. So we've included QR codes here for you. Again, if you want to kind of screen and take a screenshot and dive right in, Price Group services homeowners in both the state of Kentucky and the state of Florida. So we've broken those out depending upon where your geographical location is, so you can look at the actual facts of your specific area. And that's how you know that you are hiring a great agent to get the job done for you, because they're able to prove to you that they've done it time and time and time again. And don't you want to hire somebody that has a proven track record instead of a hopeful one? I'm sure you do. We have a proven track record. We're excited to talk with you soon about that. So as we continue our conversation this evening, what we'll talk about next before we move on is just to remind, to kind of tie up this chunk of our conversation, to tie it all together to help it make sense. It boils down to this: your marketing plan, meaning the marketing plan you hire, meaning the real estate organization that you hire to work hard and roll out an effective, proven marketing plan. Your marketing plan directly impacts your bottom line. So it is this simple. You've got to choose smart. You've got to choose the real estate company that has a proven marketing plan where they can prove to you that their sellers sell for more money than the market average and in less amount of time. You've got to hire the person that can prove that. So choose smartly, choose the price group at Keller Williams, and you can dive more into that thoughtful strategy around protecting your bottom line by using this QR code right here. We've got additional information that's accessible to you now if you would like to take a screenshot of that QR code. Again, at the price group, we believe knowledge is power. All right. So as we continue, so we've had this great conversation this evening. I feel quite confident I've probably addressed a lot of the things that might be swirling in your mind as you're considering potentially selling here in the year of 2023. And I also bet that if we were sitting down at a coffee shop or in my office or at your kitchen table, the next question might be, okay, yes, but is it still a good time to sell, or should I just wait? Should I wait? Maybe I should wait. So I can help you get clarity to this question really simply. Remember the 10 to 12 year full cycle that we talked about at the very beginning of this conversation? Let me give you a quick recap. Based on fact, if you were to research and graph the way our housing market trends in our country over the last several decades, you would find a pattern. And that pattern is that the US housing market cycles through an entire housing cycle, which is a seller's market to a stable market, to a buyer's market, to a stable market, back to a seller's market, like that sideways S, every 10 to 12 years. Not seasonally, not annually. So many people in the public are misinformed in thinking that the real estate cycle has something to do with the winter and the summer. It does not, I promise. Okay? It has to do with where we are on that sideways S graph. So you've got to understand where we've come from, where we are, and where we're going. Here's the great news. We know where we are. We know that the market is changing from the wild ride of the peak of the seller's market that we have been in recently. And how do we know? Again, what we spoke about earlier, days on market are getting a little bit longer. Number of A-level buyers are getting a little bit smaller. Okay. Those are indicators that let us know that we're moving away from the peak of the seller's market. But again, great news, like we talked about earlier, when we professionally assess and analyze with data and no opinion, what type of market are we in based upon the inventory and the absorption rate, we know we're still in the seller's market. You have not missed it. So is it a good time to sell, or should you wait? Do not wait unless you'd like to wait until the full cycle comes back around, which is another 10 to 12 years. So most of the time, if you're considering a sale right now, whatever that reason, because again, no one's like, let's just sell my property today. There's a reason. You're wanting to do something that would make a direct impact or create a ton of value for your family or for yourself, for the way you're designing your life, with the equity that you want to tap into with that profit you would get from selling that house. Or perhaps if you let go of the house you're in now and move to that house that you can dream up, if you waved a magic wand, it'd be a little smaller, so there's a lot less to maintain, or it'd be closer to your kiddos, or closer to your mom or your dad, or in a whole different climate. Or maybe it's bigger because maybe you're in the phase where you're growing your family and you need a little more room for all the kids to run. Wherever you are, we're all in a different place. The reason you're thinking about selling is not because you think it would be cool to have a for sale sign in your front yard. It's because you're getting really, really excited about what the outcome looks like on the other side of that transaction. So unless you want to delay that outcome for another decade, the time is now. The time is now. So I love this picture that we've provided for you here of a roller coaster, because this is a really good visual. We know we're coming off the peak of the seller's market. We're not there anymore, but that's okay, because nothing is tanking. This downhill that you see on the roller coaster, we're not headed. I mean, I can't predict the future, but with the wisdom I have with my 17 years of real estate experience, I'm pretty confident in sharing we're not heading to a crashed market. All we're doing is we're returning to a more stable, balanced, normalized market, which in the grand scheme of everything is really healthy for everyone. So, but if you've got your seller hat on and you're like, oh, yes, and I want to sell in a seller's market, here's where we are with the roller coaster. That front car is starting to go downhill. We're still at the very, very top. We still get to put our hands up and smile and take pictures and have a great time for the whole ride. That's where you still are as a seller. Don't wait until we get all the way into that balanced market or into the buyer's market, which will come next, to then decide that you want to move forth with selling. Not if maximizing your profit is one of the most important things to you, which I bet it is. Because again, real estate's an investment. So the past 24 months, here's what we need to know mathematically, because a lot of people are sensing and feeling and being taught, oh, it's slowing down, it's slowing down, it's slowing down, as if slow means bad. Slow does not mean bad. By a lot of people's accounts or analysis, we've been going much too fast, kind of like maybe arguably, maybe a little bit of an unsafe speed. Okay. So why would I say that? Because if you look at the data, if you look at the history, if you look at the facts of how our housing market works in our country, on average, even on average of the whole thing, even, taking into account that those 05, 06, 07, 08 years, okay, on average across time, our national housing market increases by approximately 4.4% in value each year. What does that mean? It means that on average, whatever your house is worth today, on average, it will be worth 4.4 more percent this time next year. That's what that means. Newsflash, that's also why real estate is a phenomenal investment, okay? So the reason it feels like it's slowing is because it is. And the reason that slowing is not bad is because of what I'm about ready to share with you next. If you rewind 24 months, if our housing market had appreciated, had grown in value right on the trend line, right on the average, it would be 4.4 plus 4.4. And on average, in the past 24 months, any local market, if you did the math, would see an increase of about 8.8% if we were just dancing right along the trend line. However, when we do the math for your local market in the past 24 months has increased somewhere on average in the range of 25 to 35% in the past 2 years. So compare 25 to 35% to 8.8%. And that's how fast we've been going. That's super fast. Okay. So are we slowing down? Yes. But all we're doing at the moment is slowing back to what I think is still a really good pace of 4.4% a year. We're just getting, like, if we're driving, we're getting back to the speed limit. And that's a safe and effective and great way to drive down the interstate, right? So it is slowing, but all that means is that we're returning to the normal growth. We're not going backwards. We're just slowing down. So this is a really, really great time, especially if you would be a seller that would become a buyer. This is a really, really great time to kind of have your cake and eat it too. Because on the sales side, you still get to really, really, really do well, just barely coming off the top of that roller coaster hill in regards to the peak of the seller's market. And as a buyer, you've still got interest rates that are underneath the historical average, and you're getting to buy as we're returning back to normal market pace. So I commend you for thinking about your real estate goals, because you must be super savvy if it's on your mind right now, because it is such a great time and a great market to have so many wins in. So as we continue to wrap up our conversation this evening, it probably leads to what we're going to address as our final conversation for tonight's discussion. And that is, perhaps now you find yourself saying, so just out of curiosity, how much is my home worth today? So in this market that we're in and all the things that we've discussed, how much is it worth today? Because here is the kind of the golden ticket. Once we figure out how much your home is worth in today's market, we can then help you with the math to look at your cost of sale, to help you then determine what's my actual true profit, the cash dollars that I could pull out of this house right now if I just sold it. How much cash could I have into my life, my family, my bank account, my savings account, my next home, my second home, my investment property? What type of opportunity is literally sitting underneath the roof and within the walls of the property you own right now? And that would be in relation to figuring out how much is your home worth. So if you're just curious, because again, all real estate journeys really just start with curiosity most of the time, and then a quest for matching questions to answers. So that's the only thing we're discussing this evening. Working to help you as your trusted local real estate expert and your resource match accurate and clear answers to your questions. So hop on over to whatcouldisellmyhomefortoday.com. We've got the URL, the web address right up here on the screen for you. Whatcouldisellmyhomefortoday.com. And that will open the door, no pun intended, to a complimentary opportunity for us here at the Price Group to just kind of crunch the numbers and do some math for you, just to only answer that question, nothing more. So if you're curious, find out now at whatcouldisellmyhomefortoday.com. So again, my name is Emily Price. I'm with the Price Group at Keller Williams, and I really appreciate everyone for tuning in with us. And I hope that this webinar has brought you a great amount of clarity, a great amount of value, and a great amount of professional insight. Because again, personally, I've been in real estate for nearly 2 decades. I've had the privilege and the opportunity and the awesome responsibility of helping hundreds of families put their goals together successfully and get to the finish line, and also build wealth through real estate. I have seen homeowners use the equity that they have in their properties to help them purchase their first investment property, to build out their investment portfolio, to use that equity to start the business they've always wanted to start, to use that equity to help fund their kids' college education, to use that equity to help take care of a sick family member, to use that equity to buy their next dream house. Real estate, even when it is one property that you live in, doesn't have to be any more complex or fancy than that. It is such an incredible investment. And I would welcome the opportunity to help you, to help guide you in that path of building your wealth through a really smart real estate transaction in the market that we're in, because there's so many opportunities for you, and I just don't want you to miss out. So the next step for us to be able to do that is for us to get together for just a casual conversation. And I mean it. No strings attached, just an information gathering. You can pick my brain, meet with any of my business partners, pick all of our brains. If we don't know the answer right off, we will find it for you and get you accurate, trusted information. We are your source of reliable information, so you can rest assured that you're making the best right decision for you and the life that you're designing. So let's have a casual conversation through a complimentary real estate consultation. So whether you're thinking about buying or selling or building or investing in 2023, and we're also really proud to announce that now Price Group can help you with your commercial real estate transactions and needs and investments as well. We also have a branch of our business that is helping people with their commercial goals. Reach out to us for a complimentary real estate consultation. Again, it's just a casual conversation. We're happy to meet with you digitally via Zoom. We can meet with you at your home. We can meet with you at your place of business. We can meet at our office. We can meet at a coffee shop. Whatever works best for you. We're here to serve you. We're here to help our community, our friends, our family, our past clients, and all the referrals that they entrust with us. And it all starts with just an easy breezy conversation. So that again, like we talked about at the very beginning, our only desire is to learn more about your goals and your needs, your concerns, your timelines. And then we love the challenge of being able to craft a strategy, a plan of attack for you, so that then once you've gathered all the information, should you choose to move forward, we've got a plan in place. I'm Emily with the Price Group at Keller Williams. Thanks so much for spending your time with me this evening, and we look forward to hearing from you soon. ChooseThePriceGroup.com.